All right, we're live. Welcome, accelerators. Welcome to your outsourced CFO live from the East Coast. As you can see, the dark East Coast. Well, you can't see, but it is night here, thanks to standard time and winter coming. Although today it was 70 degrees and beautiful. So I was outside doing some work outside, as I hope some of my fellow East Coasters were. And here we are, almost upon Thanksgiving, everyone. Look at this craziness. So I have a lot of questions today from people. So end of year is coming. I'm sure everybody's thinking about how my business was doing for the year, how it's going to do next year, what are my plans, what do I think about, so on and so forth, to get yourself ready to tackle 2022. We have supply chain issues. We have new laws just signed by Biden with infrastructure. How is that going to affect us? We have the ever-present crypto factor. We have inflation. So we have a lot of things that are bothering businesses, small, medium, and large across the board. And our clients are seeing that as well. We're dealing with it. Also the employee shortage is a big one, and it's a big change. I mean, a big change in the economy, big change in where they call it the Great Resignation, where people are going, moving to. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's going to create more innovation and get people in the right seats and have people like what they're doing more and more, which speaks to the small business market and the entrepreneur. So let's get them, guys. They're out there looking for you. Let's continue here. I'm getting this horrible stuff from Facebook. It drives me crazy. Hold on one second, guys. I don't know what this is doing. Okay. Sean, we got to take a look at this, but I think this is the second time I've gotten this. It's asking me about frame speed or something, but I'll continue. So let's jump right into the questions now. So they're over here to my side, so give me a minute as I pull them up. First submitter is Brandon Banks. His question is, when is the opportune time to seek investors to grow my business further? Business description. I operate an e-commerce order fulfillment warehouse. The end of 2021 will be our third complete year in business. Year one, we did $86K. Year two, $236. Year three, we're projected close to $500K in 2021. Congratulations. 2 full-time employees. Now he has 3 full-time and 2 part-time employees. The e-commerce space is massive. We are considered a micro 3PL. That's third-party logistics in Canada. But this revenue has been obtained solely by word of mouth and our website being found online. Okay, this is very long, so I'm going to cut this short. So his goal is to get an on-site manager to free him up so he can explore growing the business. And when is the right time to seek investor capital, take the next steps? All right, great questions. So Brandon, this is, when is the right time is always a very hard question to answer for people because it really depends on several factors. It depends on how much operating capital does your business produce. So, and I mean operating capital, meaning after they pay you or what you need, let's say it's $50,000, $75,000, $100,000, you need to live your life. How much operating capital does your business push out to fund the growth? So that comes down to what's your contribution margin, and then after that, what is your management expenses or most of the time fixed expenses that then lead to your operating profit. So you got to look at that, and then you got to look at your cash conversion rate. So an example would be, if I have inventory for e-commerce, and if I have then you have days outstanding of inventory. Then you have AR if you're selling to people that pay you on terms. Then you have AP, the vendors you're buying from, and then reselling some of that. So that's your conversion rate, your cash conversion rate. Those three factor together to figure out how fast you can bring on cash. So it's operating profit, and then how fast does that operating profit turn into cash in those 3 steps? Okay, so that is how you can determine how you can grow. So if you say to yourself, all right, you mentioned here you need to maybe look at a facility or grow your business by buying more inventory or whatever it is. So if you said to yourself in your planning cycle, look, I need to get 100K of inventory, or I need to put 50,000 down on a location. I need that capital. And then I need to pay a mortgage on this property or a lease, and that's 50,000 a year. Use your operating cash flow and figure out whether you could have enough cash with your projections of your sales. So how much do I need to buy in inventory? When does that turn into cash? So on and so forth, as we discussed, to see if you can fund those things as you're growing the business. So once you figure that out, you will figure out when you need capital, investment capital. So, and if you have some of your own personal money, that's always a better thing to do first, to test the waters a little, see if you're getting some traction, and then go for investors. Because early investors are going to all be friends and family, or they're going to be high risk things, high risk avenues for you. So, and friends and family can be nice sometimes and willing to sort of go with you, but then also they might say, look, I don't care if I lose the money, but I want more upside. So they might say, yeah, we'll give you 100,000, but we want 20% of your business. And you're like, ooh, do I want to do that? So you got to be careful how much and how early. And then you got to figure out what your growth plan is. Hopefully that was helpful. Next question, Quade Sturdy. So Quade question is, how do you approach the psychology of raises? Business description. I am the leader of Sturdy Contracting Company, the most detail-oriented construction company on the planet. I am curious how people structure employee raises. I would like to give my team a clear outline for each position and show what steps they can take to get a raise. I'm unsure if this would be done by attaching percentage raises for time with company, dollar raises for each additional responsibility, or a combination of both. I want to treat my team super well. However, I don't want it to be a double-edged sword where they feel capped for growth. I also thought about an incentive bonus for my original crew. My concept is this: if someone stays with the crew while we reach milestones like 250, 500K, and 1 million, etc., they can obtain a small percent raise each time. I'll need to make the system so they have room to grow while making it structured enough that it cannot be abused. Okay, Quade, I actually like your thought process. You're not going to give away equity that early in a company. It doesn't make any sense, really. I mean, because who knows where you're going to go with it. You could give away some profit share, possibly. But this is kind of like profit share, because if you're hitting milestones, you're giving them salary increases or bonus incentives or things like that as you're hitting milestones. So you're managing the profit. So in a sense, you're saying, well, I'm going to hit this milestone. That means I'm going to have this much extra cash or profit so I can give people raises or bonuses. So I think that's all fine. I think that's a great way to do it. I don't think it matters how you do it, meaning I think if you have engaged people, they love what they do, they like being there, they like your detail-oriented approach to your construction company. I don't really understand. I'd like to learn more about that because every construction company I've ever dealt with is horrendous at the details. So maybe that's your selling point. But you want them to be happy. You want them to, like you said, see the future. So, hey, guys, if we hit $1 million, everybody's going to be a part of an extra 30K bonus piece, and then we're going to all see a 10% raise in salaries. Put it in your planning. Make sure that makes sense for you in your profit calculations and so on, and they will go to bat for you, and they will try to get lowest prices from their vendors and so on and so forth, and really be a part of your team and help you with profit, I'm sure, just by setting up those kind of standards. So it's a great idea. I'd have to know a little more about your structure, about your gross profit and so on to see how much room you have for that. But great idea. Thanks, Quade. Next question, Jenny Dawson. Jenny says, what takes priority in spending wisely for growth in sales starting out as a full-time business owner? So business background. As of 11/1, Wow, that's recent. I'm a full-time entrepreneur and focused on growing my yin yoga and sound healing business. This is getting very popular. With limited funds as I'm starting out, I need guidance on how to best to invest in the growth of my business. Zen Soul Balance. With the holidays just around the corner, I want to capitalize on opportunities by offering unique experiences for groups and businesses in the San Diego area and beyond. My challenge is reaching a broader spectrum of people. I'm reaching out to event planners, joining organizations, and networking as much as possible. And I also feel the need to advertise. What takes priority in spending? Online social media ads? I've tried this in the past and have found it to be ineffective. But what are your thoughts on this? Local newspaper ads for exposure, Groupon deals, sales training with a mentor, any suggestions? Okay, so Jenny, I am not a marketing guy. So I know Sean has marketing people on here, so I would ask marketing people. But what I could speak to here is the funds that you're starting out with. So I don't know what I mean is I don't know what marketing is most effective for you in your type of business, really. But I would say that from a spend standpoint, because you're not known in the marketplace, I would think that online ads make no sense for you. But I'm not sure. And I would be very careful with your spend in an area where you don't have metrics on your return. So that's like social media. I mean, you need a social media presence, but not spending money yet. So, on ads or on other things where you're not sure on the return because you're starting out. Once you have a track record, you can then look at, this many people visit my site or see this stuff every month, and then when I spent this, I got this much more. And in the next 2 months, I saw this many more sales come through. Now you can start to track the metrics of what that spend does for you. Until you have that, don't do it. You're going to just waste money. So I think it's on you to go out and do what you can, networking-wise, to bring in the business. But I don't know, networking-wise, what's the best for you in that space necessarily. And I would definitely have a website and social media presence organically. But spend wisely on that early on. Okay? Thanks. Next question. Joe Nugent. Well, let me finish. Let me jump around here for a second. So Jenny had another question. I just noticed that. So how do I structure payment for traveling events? So Jenny, I would say the same thing. So meaning, what do you expect to get out of that event? So if you're going to spend $2,000 on a trade show thing or an event or $4,000, what do you expect to get out of that event? But I don't mean sales. So what I mean is, what is your GP? So let's take you out of the equation. Let's say you have 1 or 2 people doing the service. What is your GP dollars that get out of that? So if you have somebody you're paying $30 an hour or $40 an hour to do this service or whatever it is, and you're charging $100 an hour, let's just say $60 an hour you're making. And so if you spend $2,000 on an event, let's do the easy math. Let's make it, $40. So that means if you're spending $2,000 on an event, you need 50 people to break even on that event to come in and spend 1 hour with you. So, or 40 people at $50 net, whatever the gross profit equation is. So that's what you need to look at. What do you expect to get out of that event? And I would structure budgets accordingly for that. Now, there is some stuff for branding and so on, but I would be careful not to do branding on big dollar spend. I would do that locally, get your name out, so on and so forth, and do it with yourself rather than any major cost structures. So that's my thought there. Now let's jump back to Joe Nugent. How do I figure out how much I can pay someone for a sales position that is salary plus commission? I own a home inspection company. I'm adding an outside business development position, and I'm unsure how much I can afford to pay them with a salary plus a bonus. So, Joe, I think we spoke before. I'm not sure how much revenue you're doing here. I'm assuming you're sub 1 million. I would be extremely careful with bringing on a salesperson. So, I say this all the time. Salespeople can be amazing, but selling is extremely hard. And you have to have a strong motivation and willingness and understanding to be able to do it. Now, as an owner, you could sell better and you can position because you have the drive and you're excited, you like what you do, you think it's valuable to the client and so on and so forth. So as an owner, you can sell. Many companies we deal with, almost all, have trouble finding good salespeople. Period. If you find a good salesperson, you're off to the races. But the chances of that are pretty slim, especially early on, because you can't pay them enough. So you can't pay them enough salary. So you kind of get the lower end salespeople who are younger usually and kind of just testing the waters. So I'd be very careful bringing on a salesperson. That can end up being 6 months of wasted money, didn't get you any further, put you more in the hole, and you have to then crawl back out, and it takes you 6 months to get back from that lost money. I'm not saying don't push sales. You have to push sales, obviously. But you got to make sure that you put a budget in place. You got to make sure you say, okay, I'm going to spend $40,000 in the next 8 months. And I can afford to do that. I could lose 10% of my business. I can gain 10% of my business, or 20%, or whatever the ratios are. And I can spend $40,000. And I'm okay with that if the salesperson does nothing. So set parameters for yourself so you're not just spinning your wheels. And then track what the activity that they're doing. Stay on them and make sure that you position for success. Okay? So, next question is from Allison Koinagi. Allison said, how do you get leads to call or email you back about scheduling a call to discuss their needs and how you can help them? Allison, this is really marketing and sales. This is really not financial. Let me just read about your business 1 second. Yeah, this is sales and marketing. I'm not sure how I got this question, but I can't really help you there. Somebody with better knowledge will help you with that. Sorry, Allison. Next question. Carrington Crothers. So Carrington Crothers says, what are ways or key points when organizing or prepping for the upcoming year? I run a commercial photography business focusing primarily on product photography. Most of my journey, I have just been going with no clear plan or action, winging it, so to speak. Throughout my AO journey this far, I'm getting more organized with a vision, plan, goals, etc. What are the key areas to focus on when prepping for the new year or to set yourself up to go in strong? Carrington, great question. So glad AO is really setting you up with the vision and so on, because that's what I would have said first. That's really important that you do the vision and that you get that forward and get that set up correctly so that you are staying in line with that first. So assuming that's done, then you have to think of, well, what are my financial goals? So you want to set minimally a budget. But be careful here. A lot of owners make this mistake. So I'm all about setting a budget, but I don't want the budget to be a constraint for you. That's what owners do of small companies. That is a big problem. So they set up a budget and they say, I have to stay within this budget. No questions. That's it. And so you're doing photography. You say, I'm going to spend $5,000 next year on advertising. And the first quarter you spend $1,250. Okay? 1/4 of your budget. And guess what? Sales boom. They explode. Well, wait a second. Is that what you wanted? Okay. So now you have to adjust. Maybe you have to hire a person. Maybe you're doing so well and you have the people because you're using subcontractors and you can ramp up fast. So now you're like, well, I'm going to double my advertising budget in the next quarter because you're cranking. So budgets are good as baselines on like what your ceiling and floors are. But since you're so small, things change like that. So don't get stuck because you're within a budget, so to speak. Look at what the metrics are. If I'm spending $1,000, I'm expecting $10,000 in sales. Okay, I spent $1,000, I got $20,000 in sales. Wait a second, something's working. Or I spent $1,000 and I got $500 in sales. Well, hold on. Maybe I'll spend $500 next month and see if I still don't know. So you got to adjust with your budget mindset. So that's how I would recommend you do that. And always keep cash in mind. Make sure you have enough cash to get through things. Okay? And a good metric for that, by the way, is to have 3 to 4 months of cash on hand to support your organization. So, to be safe. Next question is Roselli, a cloak. Roselli said, what factors should I consider when creating an exit strategy for my business? I would like to structure my business to operate without me, so I have the option to sell it. Okay. And then a second question on this business was also, what is the best way to introduce policy changes and retainer increase to existing clients? Roselli's firm is an accounting firm, and she's been very flexible and helped clients apply for loans and grants at no additional cost to them, going above and beyond for her clients, and would like to get compensated quarterly. She wants to help implement these changes without too much backlash. Okay, so these are two great questions. So let's tackle the changes first. So, Roselli, on the changes that, look, I'm a huge value guy. I started my business providing too much value to clients, meaning I wasn't pricing it high enough, which is standard. It's what everybody does. So you're trying to get a foothold, you're trying to do more and show them that you can. But the thing is scope creep. That's really where the rubber meets the road, right? You want to be sure that your scope creep with those clients is not causing problems. So what you need to refine there is what is covered in your services. So you could say things like, and I'll give you an example for us. So for us, we do strategy. We help clients with value creation. We help them think through exit strategy. We help them, figure out how to optimize decision making with structured thinking and quantifying their strategy and all of these things. But what we make very clear is that when there's a M&A scenario or a due diligence scenario, that's out of scope. We don't do accounting and bookkeeping. So when they ask us to dig in a little accounting, we say that's out of scope. Now we might advise on it, but we say that's out of scope. So if we're getting heavy in there, it's more. So you got to set your parameters on what you're doing for clients. And then you could say, then you don't have to kill them on it either. You can be like, this is going to take me too long. I can help you with this. So instead of my normal $250 an hour, I'll charge you $175 for this because we're already engaged with you. It's not that hard. You can do things like that, but that's how you get them. You make sure you lock them in on the extra. So to structure your business to sell. So I agree completely with you on this. If you cannot get your business away from just you, you will not be able to sell it. Or you'll be able to sell it because of the business, but they'll want you to stay there for a little while. You'll get less value because they have to replace you, things like that. So I totally agree with the idea of being able to structure it to do it without you. So the only way to do that effectively is to set up process, strong process. And that is to do a process where your tools and the way you do the work, you standardize some of that, or you have people who can step in, learn it, and then be the trainers of the new people who come in. And that way, slowly you can extricate yourself and just be high-level strategy, and then eventually you don't even need to be there. They're just running on their own and bringing you questions on problems or things that need to adjust. And that can be, then you can sell. So, good questions. Next question is from Andy Ramos. Andy says, how do I best approach talking to a manager in my company about their need to practice healthier communication whenever they communicate with their employees? Background: I'm a corporate support for a company called Natural Life. We offer a wide variety of wellness items and consider ourselves a wellness center. We promise to use quality products and friendly service to promote a better way of quality of life for all. So I firmly believe that this friendly service should always be exercised from our employees to our customers, but also between managers and their employees as well. It is beneficial for us all to offer a healthy work environment, as an unhealthy one creates a slew of problems, and we believe a big key to that is healthy communication. I want to talk with one of my managers because I want to keep them on board, but I've heard more than once that this person can really come off wrong when communicating with their employees. This kind of stuff slowly but surely creates a tense work environment, which indirectly will affect sales, as we have seen before. I want to make sure I don't come off wrong first and start a bad chain reaction sent with this employee. Okay, so Andy, again, another typical problem, and totally agree with you. Culture is number one. Now, there have been businesses out there that have succeeded with bad cultures, okay? They have. They have done, well, succeeded might not be the right word, because what's your definition of succeeding? But have made profit, gone on to make profit, and had a lot of churn of employees, and they don't like it there, but people just need work, and they work, and they make profit. I love what you're doing. I think culture is critical for a good environment these days. And that's how I structure our culture. And I do believe communication is paramount. So in our business, we talk about the 3 C's. We've talked about this forever. It's communication, clarity, and we are a financial firm, so cash flow. Those are our 3 C's: communication, clarity, and cash flow. So with you, you can absolutely emphasize communication and say, look, we want to be an open organization. Tell us your problems. Tell us what's going on. But you as the leader here, Andy, need to drive that communication. And you need to be a leader, not a manager. Meaning you have to say to them, come to me with your issues. I will help solve them for you. If you can't, and they keep sort of backstabbing you or going around you, then that's not the type of person you want working for you. So you have like your cultural credo, and if they don't do it, kick them out. They're gone. And they're a cancer anyway then. And your other employees will probably cheer you. They'll clap for you. They'll love it. So that's the best way I would do it. So yeah, fire them if you can't get through to them and they're going around you. Okay? So next question. Monica Wilson. So Monica Wilson says, what should I focus on first when starting a transportation business? At this present time, I'm looking for direction to effectively begin my entrepreneurship journey. I'm starting a non-emergency transportation business in North Carolina. This transportation service will be offered to patients and healthcare consumers who face extraordinary barriers getting to and from their medical appointments. Woo! Wow. I'm very curious, Monica, what your intentions are there. So when you say a transportation business, are you brokering it? Are you buying equipment to actually like paraplegic equipment to transport these people? What's your modus operandi on here? Because those are very different approaches. So if you're going to sort of broker it and say, and be the service that says, hey, you're like the communicator. We just talked about that, but you're like the communicator. You're lining up people to get transportation services, 2 different things, and you're helping organize that, which is probably a need. That's great. That's low capital. You could start with 1 or 2 people. You could set up something like that and get some advertising out there and start to show how you do that effectively. If you're actually going to buy equipment and going to physically move these people around, I think it's great. It's probably a need. That's why you're doing it. Or maybe you come from the industry or something and you know the ins and outs of this. But high cost, high capital cost to build. So think about it. And, if you're going to buy some assets, Can you resell them? Do they depreciate quickly? You're buying some, is there a market for them to resell? The last thing you want to do is buy something and then get stuck with it. And then, so I don't know what you're trying to do. So you got to give me a little more information. Maybe on the next Zoom I do, throw some details in there. I'll see if I could help you a little more precisely. Next question. Oh, looks like this is the last question. This is from Kurt Nazipak. Kurt says, what's the best way to determine what best opportunity out of a selection of seemingly good opportunities or good options? I came to AO to begin working on building out different systems and processes to take my current branding and design business from being a contractor and take on the role of creative director working with a team. However, as I've been going through the authority expert course, I've started questioning if that's what I really want to do long term. I initially had an itch 10 years ago when I started a clothing company. This idea behind this company was that I would use it as a motivational and inspirational platform, primarily based on my journey of dealing with and overcoming challenges with mental health. The brand ultimately didn't progress because I hit a point where I became so afraid of sharing my story and so afraid of being judged that I got stuck in the paralysis by analysis phase and never progressed. All that being said, I'm at a point in my life now where I've overcome those fears. And when I look at what I've written so far on my authority expert template, my strongest experiences, greatest strengths, and skills that I've developed can all directly be tied to what I've learned to deal with mental health issues. I guess I'm a bit of a point where this idea has never left me. But the most immediate opportunities for myself are in the brand, design, creative direction. I know I want to pursue this brand because of the deeper meaning and personal experience I can speak from. But I also don't want to spread myself thin trying to develop multiple things at the same time. Whew! Kurt, Kurt, you're talking to a financial guy here. Now, I'm a financial guy, and our firm is a financial firm that deals with vision, quantifying your strategy, looking at your operational process, your metrics, how that all ties together, helping you optimize decision making. We're doing all of that, so we have to understand where you want to go. So all of your information is critical, but I have no idea what you're trying to do. So I don't know what your business plan is here. So it's very hard for me to tell you whether that's good. Now, your mental health, this is what I do know. Mental health in our environment is an unbelievably horrible thing. That is, what's the wording, is undervalued and not, I'm trying to look for the wording, but undervalued and not sort of thought of enough in corporations and things like that. So it's becoming more of an issue. And I think that you have an opportunity to speak to that. So maybe you want to do that within corporations. You come at some approach there where you're an expert on this. You have stories, you have tools that people can use to help them with mental health. And maybe corporations will bring you in to speak to their employees because that's becoming more of a thing. And maybe you team up with some other providers that do that, so on and so forth, and you can contract yourself out. I don't know, but I love the idea of the branding around it and so on. And I think it is a real big issue that needs to be tackled in our society. So glad you got through it, and you're moving on to the next stage. And I'm sure the demand is huge, so I'm sure you can find some avenues there. And when you get to a financial plan or in an operational construct, let me know, and we can talk through it on a Zoom. So hope that was helpful. Great questions, everyone, today, especially about business structure on exit and things like that. I loved it. So look, one more, I'll leave everyone here with one more sort of operational / financial piece. Always be careful. I said this last time. It is now November 18th. I will say it again in December. I am not a tax guy, but I hate to see small businesses get crunched in this scenario. So be very careful with managing cash and profit at the end of the year. Talk to your tax accountant. Get ahead of it. Tell your tax accountant what your projection is for year end, both starting inventory and ending inventory for your product businesses. Make sure you don't get stuck with a big tax bill. And, that's the first thing to sap you in the beginning of next year. When in April your accountant says you owe 40 grand for taxes or 100 grand. So be very careful with that. And make sure you hold cash too, to keep your business running at the right level. Reinvest your dollars for growth. Right now, if you have profits, you can do that for, so you don't get as big a tax bill. Reinvest for growth by the end of the year. Manage accordingly with your accountant for the taxes. And have a great Thanksgiving, everyone. It's good to see you all. Or not see you all, but talk to you all. And enjoy. Be safe. Speak soon.